teeth, then you realize that you're somewhat dangerous, and or maybe somewhat seriously dangerous, and then you might be more willing to demand that you treat yourself with respect and other people do the same thing. And so that doesn't mean that being cruel is better than not being cruel. What it means is that being able to be cruel and then not being cruel is better than not being able to be cruel. Because in the first case, you're nothing but weak and naive. And in the second case, you're dangerous, but you have it under control. And, you know, a lot of martial arts concentrate on exactly that as part of their philosophy of training.
One thing when it comes down to my channel, when it comes to all of the social issues, I just really hate the dig at like masculinity, you know? I really, it just like, it just, you're doing so much to put it down. Hey yo, what's up guys? So I'm coming to you with another video. We're doing another reaction video to Vice panel talking about be a man, traditionalists against modernists, you know, people talking about femininity, masculinity, all the good stuff. You know what? I'm wearing flannel and a Jesus I trust in you shirt, and you can't be any more masculine than that, I guess. No, just kidding. So we're gonna take a look at this and then talk about it. And so yeah, with that said, shall we begin? But first, of course, if you're new to my channel, what is up? My name is Mitch, Maverick Mitch. Hey Mitch, all the Mitches, the call sign Don, and pretty much I like talking about what I talk about. So, current events, reviews, pop culture, social media commentary. Be sure to check out all those videos as you're finishing this video. And of course, please like, share, and subscribe as it feeds the algorithm. So with all of that said, let's get into it.
How you guys doing?
Alright, so just real quick off the bat, like I don't know anyone here except for Christian Walker, conservative personality on Instagram, TikTok, all that good social media stuff. And so the only person I recognize again here is Christian Walker. I didn't really watch everything. I was watching some of this on the way home, on the drive home. And so I figured to talk a little about this. You know, there was the video with the, again, it's doing a hot still, like the feminism, anti-feminism, the pro-feminism and all this stuff. And so we're kind of taking a different look about being a man. A lot of this already, when I was listening to it, it was very cringe, just because, not to say that there was like, in the world of, you know, Andrew Tate's in the world, none of these guys were like that, but if it feels like the opposite, in which a lot of guys were like, I used to be a thug, and so now I'm in touch with my feelings. I'm like, it was like so cringe, because the same person is talking about like the wage gap and talking about we restrict women's bodies. I'm like, okay, you just cut your pee-pee because you're like now you don't even embrace your masculinity because you thought it was toxic or whatever. You bought into the toxic stuff. And so I'm gonna actually fast forward into one thing that one of the guys was talking about. I kind of liked it. So let's take a look where he's.
I was not always a good man. I was not always what you would call a healthy masculine man. And so as my life has changed, I've identified 5 points that I think make a truly masculine man masculine. Okay. I think point number 1 is a man who walks with God.
Amen.
Point number 2 is a man who stands on principle. Point number 3, which is a masculine man, is self-sacrificing. So someone who is willing to sacrifice for point 4, the people that he leads. A true man is a leader. And number 5, a masculine man is never a coward.
That's a lot there.
And you know, I want to start off there because I think that is a good rubric. I think everyone has their own version of what a man is and everything. And it kind of, and I like when I was thinking about this video, I think 3 images, and they kind of go into this like fatherhood and all this stuff and masculinity. I think what could have served better question is what images of man or whatever that you, caricatures even of who you want to be. So like, or what you think a man should be. So to me, it's kind of like a Captain America, you know, like someone who stands on principles, stands on values, godly, you know, willing to fight. Like even when he was scrawny, right? He was willing to fight the good fight because it needed to happen, right? He didn't like bullies, and I like that there was this idea of standing on principle as Captain America, right? And being fit, you know, being a leader, like everything that he was mentioning, right? going into kind of like more of a leader fatherhood role, another person that speaks to my mind when I was talking about this is Commander Adama, or Admiral Adama in Battlestar Galactica. Like, even though he was like a father, right? Yeah, he was a father to other people, like his surrogate daughter, you know, with Starbuck, and like even like a Sharon Valerie Boomer, she didn't want to disappoint him, right? And I think even he was the admiral of the fleet. I think he was like the father figure of the fleet as much as Rosalind was the mother of the fleet. And so I think that was a good pairing. And the last image I kind of come up with is Mel Gibson in The Patriot. You know, he, like, again, all of these images are military for me. Once again, like, godly person, you know, and he wanted, like, he was a war veteran. He just wanted to become a father, you know, and I think that's very powerful. His wife passes and he just wants to do right by his kids, right? And so, and protect his kids and not have them go to war, but they go to war and he avenges his sons. And I think that archetype is very powerful, and it kind of goes into when it comes to the Patriot, it's specifically, it goes into what Jordan Peterson talks about, be a monster. And in this case, what he means by that is like, be dangerous, be dangerous when the moment calls for it, but don't be cruel outright, but be cruel when the moment needs to, in that moment, right? And so, like,
those who have swords and know how to use them but keep them sheathed will inherit the world. And that's another thing I've been telling. Yeah, no kidding. That's a lot different, man. That's a big difference. It's so great. And so, like, one of the things I tell young men, well, and young women as well, but the young men really need to hear this more, I think, is that you should be a monster. You know, because everyone says, well, you should be harmless, virtuous. You shouldn't do anyone any harm. You should sheath your competitive instinct. You shouldn't try to win. You know, you don't want to be too aggressive. You don't want to be too assertive. You want to take a back seat and all of that. It's like, no. Wrong. You should be a monster, an absolute monster, and then you should learn how to control it.
The proverb, you know, it is better to be a warrior in a garden than a garden in a war, right? And so I think those are really, 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 really important aspects. Let's actually fast forward a little bit. Because there was a moment they're talking about, one of the persons was talking, and I was like, okay, we gotta do this.
If someone is strong, they're probably going to look strong, and they're probably going to feel strong. So I think when you say it's a pressure, I think it can be construed as a healthy pressure. Hey, get strong, be strong, because you're going to be...
What is it? Like eustress, de-stress, right? Eustress is a good stress?
A healthier and more mentally fit individual.
For example, I was a gymnast, and I think, you know, the training that I did not only trained my body, but it winded up training my mind and making me a stronger human, period.
As the skinniest person here,
Pretty skinny.
too skinny? Alright, as the second skinniest person here. No, it's like, I don't know, it's like, yeah, you do, I've had a
masculine ideal to that of some sort. Does anyone disagree with that here?
I do. Body diversity exists across like multiple spectrums, and I think that it's unfair to like...
Okay, so I gotta, like, this is the part where I kind of really wanted to do the video, because, like, of course, this person identifies non-binary, so they're gonna, I don't know, whatever. Their whole aspect is deconstructing the paradigm, and it just, it's so much. Okay, instead of just like understanding the world as it is and understanding like how Jordan Peterson talks about the world, you know, I'm not saying like, and Jordan Peterson is an emotional person. I'm not saying like there's a level in which you should be stoic, but there's a level in which you should be vulnerable, like you said, not weak but vulnerable, right? And then this type of person just seeks to disrupt the natural normativity or whatever, the keywords and all this stuff. And he just keeps on going. So let's listen to some of it.
Only attribute like mental fortitude, like mental strength to like physical strength. Not having like a perfectly in shape body doesn't necessarily mean you're unhealthy by any means. And I also don't think it necessarily means that you like lack mental fortitude.
I don't think I'm saying...
So his argument here is just because you don't work out, it doesn't mean like you're not like weak or you're not mentally fit, right? But what he was mentioning is it kind of goes hand in hand. Like in the military, at least Air Force wise, we have something called like the 4 pillars, in which you should be mentally strong, you're like your mental health, your emotional okay, so physical health, mental, slash emotional, social health, so your social group, and then spiritual. Spiritual, even if you don't believe in a organized religion, a spirit could be like a purpose type of thing. And so all of those affect each other, and this idea of resiliency, right? And so what he's getting into, like mental fitness, and I agree with that. And so this other guy is saying, just because you're not working out, it doesn't mean you're weak. Well, actually it is. Like, you may not, like, depending on what you do, maybe you walk, like, if you walk instead of like driving your car, I think you're still giving activity. I think if you by doing some physical labor, you're building your body. I'm not saying you have to like hella lift weights, but at least do some physical activity like sports or whatever. You don't have, again, you don't have to do a formal training in which you're actually lifting weights or whatever. But let's continue.
Saying that to look strong is the only way to be mentally strong. I think as long as you feel like you have a competent physical body, I think that's going to benefit your mental health.
How do you define competent?
Yeah, I think in terms of what you're trying to do. So if
you should be able to bench your weight at the very least, right? And so I think that was that was always been the character type, right? Like, or the benchmark. That you should be able to bench your weight, right? So more people are saying like you should bench overweight, but sure, whatever. But I think at the very least you should be able to bench your weight. I think that's, at least physically, that should be an aspect. I think you should be, in general, well, I'm in the military, but in general, you should be working out at least once a week. Like, obviously you should be working out more than that, but like, get to, like, be physical, you know? I think, why would you want to be like sluggish and everything? And so like after the holidays, I wasn't working out because of all this stuff, and so I was feeling sluggish. So I don't understand why you wouldn't want to work out.
What are you a student? Like, what are your endeavors in life?
Me?
Yes.
I'm a student athlete.
Okay, what kind of sport?
I'm a springboard diver.
Okay, do you train to do springboard diving?
Yeah.
Okay, and do you feel good when you train and you do well on the springboard?
Yeah.
I think that's what I mean. That's what
100%. I think that was a very great breakdown. Let me see what else he said. But I think that was a great breakdown. Like, you're actually doing something physical, you know? Like, that is whatever, like springboard diving, that I'm sure that does physical work. You have to do, like, stretch and all this stuff, and there's something that rigorous that you got to do, that you're training your body. So you're actually doing, like, I'm not saying you have to do CrossFit or whatever. I don't know what another good analogy is, but you're actually doing something athletic.
I'm talking about. And if you feel competent at the endeavors you're trying to do, I think that's
But I think
what
that there's
contributes to
lots of like non-athletic people who may not be in like the same physical shape as like an athlete would be,
right,
who are competent in what they're trying to do, because that like action has nothing to do with like their like.
So that's where I disagree with you. That's where I disagree with you. I think some people who don't realize the potential for their physical to blend into your mental is something that needs to be talked about. I think it's undervalued.
It's not that you have to work out to have a competent mind. It's that working out does help with competency. We already know when you work out, endorphins are released, people feel better. There's so many times I wake up, I don't want to go to the gym. It's going to be the worst day ever. I'm in a bad mood. I go, my endorphins are released. I'm great. I'm woken up. Like, we have the science for that. So
Especially
not
like plays very little. We've had presidents in wheelchairs that were very confident, successful men who couldn't walk. And
I mean, you still got to use your arms. I don't know where he was trying to get with that, but like, hold up, continue.
And so I'm going to say that it doesn't define you as a man.
I think there's always a...
But it's the societal pressure to be in shape for men.
I don't...
I don't like when I'm having sex, my stomach like is over a butt or whatever. Like, I want to eat less. Me,
Paul can
nobody's
change
like,
that.
You're fat.
We've spent all this time like deconstructing masculinity and all these things, but then it seems as though if a woman or someone dating says, hey, I want a swole guy, suddenly it's like, oh, sorry, I don't think that's a societal pressure. That's what that woman wants, and she's entitled to have.
But I also, you know, I have body type.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Like, I'm not going to say what it is, but there's certain girls where I'll go on and I'm like, you don't really have what I'm looking. I don't say that because that's the dick, but in my head, I'm just like, this isn't going to work.
Okay, I'm going to leave it there. with the lasting point is like, I don't know if the crux of this, at least this video, is working out, and if that is the crux of being a man. Earlier in this video, we had those 5 things that we're talking about and the images, but like here, we're just talking about like mental, physical health and how it plays into your emotional and mental health and all that stuff. I think when it comes down to it, like even like one, in general, everyone should be working out. Like man, woman, whatever. Y'all, we should be just working out. I think it just boosts your immunity. I think it just gives you a healthier lifestyle. You like, I'm not saying like I'm no bodybuilder, right? But like obviously I have to work out for the military. But like I'm just saying you should do some activities, whether that is just walking or something, like walk your dog or whatever. Like just do some physical activities. As far as this idea of a man, I think let's just go back to that real quick. You know, I gave the images of a person in the military, right? And again, I'm not saying the archetype is someone, like not everyone's meant for the military, right? Good, great. But there's this idea in which you should be working out, you should be like be accountable of your actions. As someone in the in military, you know, like when you're especially out in uniform, you are held to a different standard, right? And I think we should carry ourselves in that manner. So I'm gonna harken back to that Texas guy, even though he has dumb comments at the end, like what he was talking about, like be godly. Well, obviously I agree to that, just because you should always prioritize God. But even if you don't believe in God and whatever, the next aspect is be like responsible, sacrifice, be a leader of your family, you know, and be just stepping up to the game, right? And then all that stuff. And so I agree with all of that. I'm just gonna harken to like what is your image of the man, father, person that you want to be, and I think you should emulate that. And so I'll just leave it there. This was a pretty interesting conversation. I just, one thing when it comes down to my channel, when it comes to all of the social issues, I just really hate the dig at like masculinity, you know? I really, it just like, it just, you're doing so much to put it down, right? I think when even though what girls say, like I want a man who listens and all this stuff, like ultimately when it comes down to it, you want like a manly man, you know? Like, and I don't think that I don't think that is a bad thing, right? Just as much as a man would want like a feminine woman, you know? Like even if you're not the body type or whatever, at least there is an image in which you can complement each other. I don't know, I'm ranting all over the place. But I think we should embrace masculinity. I think I'll just leave it there. I ranted a whole lot for this video. And so, thank you for watching. You can follow me at my Instagram at HeyMitchMitch. You can follow me on Twitter, Maverick Mitch. And see you in the next video. Thank you for watching. Peace, peace, peace. Be with you.